Now, I mentioned this before we started recording, but you have the most massive burps of anyone I've ever heard. That's a compliment, though. I want you to know. I mean, we're driving in the car for those of you who don't know us. We went on this road trip, and you got to drink soda on the road trip. You can't drink the water, right, Jessica? You got the caffeine to keep you awake when you're driving.
It was a boys' trip, so
That's right. That's right. There were no ladies in the car. So you also have to know your manners on when burping is socially appropriate. I think it's the first time we've been on a boys' trip. We've hung out as
yeah,
boys, right? But never
yeah,
a long journey
without
as
the
just
spouses,
boys.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was taken a little back at how loud and impressive and voluminous that burp was, and it was not a one-time incident. It
Well,
occurred quite frequently throughout the trip. So
I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4". You have to know how to use that frame, in a lot of different aspects of life, right? Like you always hear stories about like scaring away a bear, how you have to stand tall and like you have to be able to use it when you need it, and you don't want to have a little girlish, burp. So you got to let it out.
well, I didn't. I I didn't really want this to come out in the podcast, but that's kind of one of the reasons I keep you around in case I ever am attacked by a bear.
Oh,
Because one
good.
of two things is going to happen: either you're going to scare it away, or I'm going to outrun your butt.
Well, you'd probably outrun me. Yeah. I mean, I would be the tastier snack because there's more to me. But
Well, we both have a lot more, for a bear to eat these days than when we first became friends. So he would have plenty to eat for both of us.
that's true. Occasionally on my Google Home, you know how it has like slideshows and it'll like show pictures from like this day, like 10, 12, 15 years ago. There's a picture from my, gosh, which birthday was it? I think 30th birthday party that I'm in the picture and you're in the picture. And yeah,
You mean half of me is in the picture and half of you is in the picture?
yes, yes, gosh.
Yes, I know the
But
picture you're talking about, and that was probably 10 or so years ago. Time sure flies, and actually, this conversation we could just keep going and flying, but I think we're doing a podcast.
well, I mean,
Do you think we should actually start this thing, or just like keep talking about burps and getting old?
well, before we start though, I did want to ask you a gaming question. It's been on my mind, and you would be the perfect person to ask. So sorry if I'm derailing things for just a minute or two. Um, but you know how I am. I kind of fall through these rabbit holes of watching YouTube videos, and sometimes my eyes are bigger than the time I have. And Elden Ring. I started watching videos on Elden Ring, even though you've been trying to convince me for a long time to play it. But I started watching these previews and these reviews. I mean, from like a year or two ago, and this one review I was watching, they compared Elden Ring to Skyrim, and they said Elden Ring is a Skyrim of the 2020s. And that line alone really got me thinking. So I just wanted to ask you, Brett, do I need to play Skyrim? And you know me, I love video games. I'm not a good gamer, and a 100-hour game intimidates me a little bit. So do I need to play it, or do I just need to stop watching videos and move on?
Well, first of all, you asked me if you need to play Skyrim, and I
Oh, sorry.
I think there's a reason why you slipped. No, no, no.
Do I?
There's a reason why you accidentally said Skyrim, because I'm going to let the giant cat out of the bag right now, because this is going to turn off many listeners. I have never played Skyrim. I've started it like 5 or 6 times. I ain't kidding. I haven't made it more than 2 hours. And I know it's the granddaddy of them all when it comes to these kind of role playing fantasy world games. So, as yes. So the answer to this question is yes, I should play Skyrim. Now, your real question is, should you play Elden Ring? Well, I can't compare the two since I haven't played both of them. But the reason I've been trying to talk you into playing Elden Ring is because my experience with the game was unlike any other gaming experience I've ever had in my life. There's those moments you have in gaming that come along. I don't know. I don't want to say once in a decade, because maybe some of our listeners are only a couple decades old, but maybe once every 3 to 4 years, maybe once every generation or so. this felt like one of those defining moments for sure. And that analogy you said about it being the Skyrim of the modern age, I can't say for sure because I haven't played Skyrim, but in scope, in scale, in excitement, the buzz that was around it, and definitely my experience being in that world, the immersiveness of it, yes, and that's what it was, and that's what gaming is about, getting immersed. At least that's what it is for me, right? So if that's the kind of experience you want, and you want to just get immersed in a completely different world and be challenged and just be in awe every time you turn it on because there's going to be something new popping your way that you just never seen before. There are just things in this game you've never seen in any other game, and for that reason, yes. But that might be your only gaming goal you have, because, like you said, you know the it's hard to find time to play in 100-hour game. Might cut into a lot of your gaming time this year. It might take all your gaming time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to give this some more thought. But I know I derailed you. But yeah, let's go ahead and start the show if that's okay with you. Okay, Doc. Get on your bicycle, Mac. Put on your pink hoodie and high tops, and let's get this thing going. Welcome to Fit Dad, Gamer Dad, a monthly podcast where two middle-aged dads encourage each other to reach both their fitness and their couch gaming goals. I'm your host, Josh Stapleton, and with me, as always, is the multi-talented Mr. Brett T. Bodden. Brett, how goes it?
Hey, Josh. It goes well. How goes it for you? Thanks for that introduction. I am just thrilled to be here with the man, the myth, the legend of the internet, right here, Mr. Josh Stapleton. I know you've heard him on your airways because he's had his own YouTube channel. He's guest starred on many podcasts, and I feel like the luckiest guy right now, Josh, just to be hanging out and chatting about games and fitness with you. So super excited to be here.
You know, I figured after I conquered YouTube with all, 78 subs I had, that it was time to move on to bigger and better things. There's only so much I could do there. So now it's time to move on to podcasting.
Well, I thought you were just ready to retire and you made your millions in YouTube. So,
well, my YouTube co-host, bless his soul, great kid, but he was a kid, and it's my oldest son, Andrew. He went by the name Cool Knight when we did our YouTube channel, and it was short lived. I think we did it for I want to say about 2 years. We did 2 seasons, I'll tell you that. But and the whole point was it was called Raising a Gamer. We were trying to get him introduced to a variety of games, it was fun. But really, all he wanted to do at the end of the day was play 2 games, and I bet you could guess those 2. Actually, I'll see if you can guess them.
Yeah, well, this could be a good trivia. I'm guessing one was Fortnite.
Yep.
And the other was Minecraft.
Yep, Fortnite and Minecraft.
And tell me how you feel about those 2 games.
Fortnite, I don't mind. I'm not good at Fortnite, but I don't mind it. Minecraft, I don't get it. I don't like it. If you you know how on the Switch it'll show how many hours you've logged for a game. Under my account on Minecraft, if you were just to look at my account, you'd think like I was a Minecraft pro and that's all I did. I haven't played Minecraft more than 5 minutes, but it's got like 1,200
logging in on Daddy's account.
It's got like 1,200 hours on there, and that's not
1,200 hours. You should have had me guess because I would have not. I might have guessed 500. That's insane. But that doesn't surprise me. I mean, my daughters love it too, and I don't even dare look. In fact, maybe that's something I should do is find out how many hours. We can compare which of us is the worst parent based on whose kid plays Minecraft more, because mine might beat you in the 1,200 hours, or Andrew, I should say.
Well, it's not just Andrew. That's all my kids. But what I was gonna say is that's just the Nintendo Switch hours. that's not the PlayStation 4 hours. So I don't really
This,
know.
yeah, I'm getting some. I have some ideas churning on how we can, what we could do with these numbers. We need to do some more digging. But going back to your YouTube channel, though, besides those two games, I did watch your YouTube series and loved it for a lot of reasons. One, just what a great way to have some dad and son time on the things that you love and get him interested in the things that you love. Introduce him to um, the things that got you into gaming, the games that got you into gaming, and to see him enjoy some of those same games and realize, oh, these aren't that bad. Yeah, they're not Minecraft and Fortnite, but these are a lot of fun, and I can play these with Dad. Um, and they're still out there on the YouTube.
They still are, and yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. I mean, it was fun, like playing games with him, but really, to make an episode, you really have to spend some time on a game, and yeah, that was difficult. We had to record the episodes late at night when the house was quiet, and he's 15 now, but he was 10 and 11.
And didn't you insert video of you guys playing the game? And so that required a lot of editing, it looked like, too, because if you go back and watch it, it's not just you talking about the games, it's showing snippets of you playing it.
Yeah, sometimes it was snippets of us playing it. Other times it was just pulling playthrough video of someone else just to show the game. Um, but yeah, it was fun while it lasted.
Well, and that lasted, like you said, a couple of years, and here we are, maybe 3 or 4 years later, and now I get a call. Hey, Brett, and this is not the first time I've got this call. Hey, Brett, you ever thought about doing a podcast? I think that's Josh's way of saying, he's asked me that probably every year for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
And my answer has always been no.
yeah.
But I've gotten so into podcasting because of you. You introduced me to the podcast world, especially the world of gaming. And in particular, big shout out to Married to the Games, because that's the podcast you originally got me into. In fact, you got a nickname for getting me into that podcast. You are known as what?
MTTG Street Team.
Street Team. And that was because you were beating the streets and getting people to come in and join the show in its early infancy. And that show's taken off, of course, and we're not trying to do anything they're trying to do at
Nope,
all.
definitely
We bow
not.
down to them.
If they're the S tier, we're not even the A tier. We're not the B tier. We're about 7 layers down. So
Yeah, no, they're AAA games.
Yeah.
We're not even an indie game. We're
That's
like
right.
a cheap Chinese mobile knockoff game.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, I'm now interested in the podcasting world. Always been a big gamer. Always being into fitness and family and faith and all that kind of stuff. So when you asked me this year, hey Brett, you ever thought about doing a podcast? Yes, because you planted that idea. So tell me about your idea for this podcast and how this podcast came about and what it's all about.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. I've been tinkering with the idea of doing a podcast for a while. So my brother years ago asked me if I would be his co-host and on his podcast Fortress of Nerditude. And to be fair, that would have been really fun, but it would have been a little disingenuous just because I don't have the pop culture knowledge that he does. I don't think I would have been able to keep up, and it wouldn't have necessarily been something that was completely in my wheelhouse. But since then, I've been a guest on a few other shows, and I've thought about it a handful of times, and I always kind of shied away because I didn't want anything that was going to be a huge commitment. I didn't want a weekly show, even though probably weekly shows will probably do better than a monthly show, and that's fine. But it just wasn't what I thought I could commit to. 4 kids here in the house, a wife that works, I work, right? I just trying to do weekly. I just knew it wouldn't happen. So I started thinking like, what's something I could do monthly? And to be fair, I knew that I wanted you as my co-host. So I was like, what's something that Brett and I could do together? Just because you want someone that you can have a fun and easy conversation with. So
Well, and I would not be doing this with anyone else. So this is not my wheelhouse at all. You talked about how being on your brother's show is not your wheelhouse because of his extensive knowledge in pop culture versus your knowledge, and they're different tiers. And uh, uh, I'm grateful that you're in that lower tier with me because I definitely want people to know I am no expert when it comes to this stuff. I just thoroughly enjoy talking to you about these things, and over the years have thoroughly enjoyed texting and playing online with you. And I'm not a hardcore gamer or anything like that, so
You
I
say
just
that.
appreciate
You
you.
say that, but I would disagree. I mean, going back to what we were talking about before the show, you've played through Elden Ring, you've played through Hollow Knight. Now, I think like anyone else, you've had your ups and downs where you have times where you've had more time to game, and you've had times where it's a little bit more sparse. But I feel like I'm always playing catch up to you when it comes to gaming. So I don't know that I'd agree with your statement.
Well, there was, it all. You're right. It comes and goes in spurts, and that's because we're dads. We're in our middle life, middle age men, and it's family men and working men, and we have other responsibilities. So it is hard to find time to game, and we never quite hit our stride at the same time. It's so funny you say that because at the beginning of the year, I would agree with you. The beginning of last year, 2022, we always set these yearly goals, you and I. It's one of our favorite things we've done over the years. Like, hey, all right, Brett, it's a new year. How many games do you want to play? And I was killing it last January. And you were like, slow down. Like, my average time to beat a game was like 2 or 3 days. And I burned through like 10 games in 3 months. And you're like, you're on fire, and it was a time in your life where you didn't have as much time to game. And so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but uh, the roles flipped later in the year, and so I think you were enjoying hearing vicariously through me how my gaming was going, because then here we are toward the end of the year, November or probably October, November, December. My life gets turned upside down, and I'm not gaming anymore at all, and you're flying through games, and now I'm living vicariously through you. And so the reason I think that original statement about me playing you having to always catch up to me is not true is because the numbers bear it out. By the end of the year, I think I finished with only 15 games. I got 5 more in. And how many did you finish with by the end of 2022?
So this year was an anomaly. I'll just say that. I finished with.
Just tell me the number
So the
to
number
make
was
my point.
the number was 26. However,
There it is.
most years it's
Impressive.
nowhere near that. But there, I mean, you see guys that beat like 50, 100 games a year. I don't know how they do it. Um, but so yeah, so for me, 26 was great. Some of them were really short experiences, but there was really, kind of a little bit of everything, and that was kind of what I was going for. Was playing new stuff, old stuff. I played Wii games. I played PlayStation, Genesis, PS5. I mean, I really was kind of all over the board. But that's what I like to do. I like we were talking about earlier. I see a game and I hear someone say one positive thing about it. I'm like, oh, I want to play that. So, anyway, so
Well, that's what I love about chatting with you about gaming, is because you are willing to try any game, and not just the style of the game, but from any generation. And you'll surprise me because one day you'll be playing a AAA game on the latest gen, and next thing I know, you're telling me about a GameCube game you're playing, and then you're playing, Marvel Snap. And you're all. It's not that you're all over the place. You're just very
which I
versatile
am.
and very, yeah, and very and so it makes for some interesting conversation, and it's really, and it gets me excited about some of these other games, and it makes me want to go have these experiences that players have had for years that maybe I missed out on at times in my life when I couldn't game, and go back and try these things. And kind of that was the whole point of your YouTube channel, was to have your son experience those moments with you. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to listen to Josh guest on these other podcasts, that's what you're it's a treat to be able to hear about his gaming knowledge, because it expands generations. So maybe that's why you are so interested in podcasting. Why? So tell us a little bit more about this particular podcast and how that fits into where we're going with this.
Right. So I already mentioned that I wanted something that was monthly. and I wanted something that I could do with you. And so I started thinking, what could we do? Obviously, we didn't want to do just a strictly gaming podcast. There, like we said, there are others like Married to the Games that just do it so much better. And I didn't want to come across as just trying to be a copycat of someone else. I wanted to do something that I say is unique and different. I'm sure there's probably something like this out there, but something that to me felt unique and different. And throughout the years, not only have we texted about gaming quite a bit, but one of the things that we've done together is go through fitness journeys.
Yeah. In fact, I think that we made that connection. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, duh. That's kind of how we first met. We actually would go running together at night. We didn't meet through gaming. We met through, hey, let's get in shape. How about we go run? And we went. There was this retention pond. We used to live by each other, and there was this little track around this retention pond. I just remember going out there late at night and just running around the track with you.
Doing laps, yeah. And we kind of started there, and then we just started running through the neighborhoods. We did some 5Ks together. And that was really, uh, it was really helpful to have that accountability partner. And, one of the things we'll talk about a little bit here in a few minutes is just, kind of the struggles of working out and balancing that just as you get older and as life gets busier and as the love of pizza increases. Um, so there's definitely struggles. We're not trying to come at this as pros, but rather kind of uh, to make a gaming term, almost kind of as noobs, as a new challenger approaching. Even though we've been through this a few times, we're trying to find a way that we can hold ourselves accountable, and in a manner that hopefully will be lasting. Um, so we came up with this idea of Fit Dad, Gamer Dad. Brett, do you want to tell us a little bit kind of about what the show is gonna look like?
Yeah, so when you said that we wanted to, find something that could help us be accountable, motivate us, and the key is be lasting. Um, we go on these gaming journey. Well, life is a constant bumpy road of ups and downs, and any of you out there that have tried to improve your fitness level, and when we use the word fit on this show, we're not talking we're talking whatever that looks like for you to feel happy and healthy in your body. We're not talking we don't care for ourselves or for you whether it's cardiovascular or muscular or diet or flexibility, or it doesn't matter, just whatever you is comfortable for you, so you have that confidence and that energy level, because really that's what we talked about a lot is, man, as dads, as working dads, uh, we need a lot of energy as we get older. Speaking of, liking pizza more, not only do we like pizza more, but we don't have as much energy. At least that's how I feel. My aging has gone.
Yeah, I was just saying. I think one of the things you'll find too in listening to the two of us is we're at different stages, and our goals are going to be different, and that's perfectly fine. That's kind of one of the things that I like is that my focus might be in one area and your focus might be in another, but the idea is to find something that works for you yourself individually and find a way to make yourself accountable.
Yeah. So as you and I were talking about that, how to do that, we decided, well, let's marry the two. Let's make getting fit, getting healthy, getting happy in our bodies, whatever you want to call it, let's make it a game. This is basically the gamification of flatlining or
Right.
taking less bumps out of that fitness journey in life, and just getting to a place where you have more energy and you're able to do more. So what you're going to hear in this show is different segments that are designed to gamify the our journey together, and we're going to take two different journeys, and you're each of you that are listening, you're going to be on your own journey as well, of course. And um, we an element of gamification, of course, is competition.
Right.
games were originally invented to be competitive in nature. Now, we want an element of that for sure, but we also don't want to destroy our friendship by doing this podcast. So we did find a way to build in some kind of an XP point earning type system, and we're going to explain more of that in the next episode, because we're going to basically earn XP and see who can earn more XP between the two of us throughout the year. And you can earn XP on a monthly basis, and that'll be the first segment we get to in this show, and we're calling it our skill tree. You know, when you play a game and you've earned all that extra XP in a game, those experience points, typically you can go into a skill tree and level up your character, make your character stronger, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our bodies stronger, our minds stronger, and have more energy. So we don't have any points yet. We haven't earned any XP, so we're going to talk more about that next episode. But we're also going to have, in addition to these monthly goals where we can earn XP, we want a long-term goal in there as well. And one thing we mentioned a minute ago is every year around this time of year, you and I love to reflect back on our gaming. In fact, there was one year where you and I each of us made a YouTube video of all of the clips, our favorite clips of screen captures you and I had made.
I think it was 2016.
As a montage of it. Yeah. We need to find those videos and get those out there, link them to our socials and whatnot.
I know where mine is.
That was a lot of fun, because what it did is, yeah, I think I know where mine is too.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to watch mine the other day, and the music I had used back then, it was back when YouTube's filters weren't as good, and it let the music stay on there, but it's copyrighted music.
I have a Shinedown song on there. It should totally be struck with copyright, and it so far, I mean, it shows you how many views it's got. It still hasn't.
It also shows you how old we are, that we were posting things on YouTube before copyright software had caught up. Well, anyway, the point is that these yearly goals that we make, we're going to go and actually set some yearly goals on this podcast. And now seems like a good time to do that, to kind of kick it off, because this whole show is about us setting goals, you guys setting goals, having fun doing it, competing, earning points, gamifying it. So I thought maybe we could talk about our yearly goals, since we don't have monthly goals yet.
Yeah, and with it being January, this is the perfect time to do it. So, Brett, I'm going to have you tell us your first goal. And the way we kind of broke this out is we have fitness goals and gaming goals as well. And one of the things I wanted to back up to, one of the things you said that was really interesting to me, is you talked about an element of competition. And I'm going to relate it this way: is yes, there is that element, but I kind of think of it like golf, right? A lot of times in golf, you're competing really against yourself, or bowling, or some of these other sports where you're trying to beat your own record, right? So while there may be an element of competition of trying to get all the XP, trying to get all these things, check all these boxes, right? Really, at the end of the day, the competition is within yourself, and having that other person is there to keep you accountable. And I found that in my life that really helps, to have that other person that you don't want to let down, right? So, okay. So Brett.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you shared that, because we kind of previewed some of these goals before we recorded, just to kind of see how nuanced they were between the two of us. And it was so interesting, because you're about to hear they're very different, and I love that idea that we're all on our own journey. We're definitely don't compare you to us, and we're certainly not out there looking at other people on the internet and comparing ourselves to them. This is us just trying to be happier.
This is us just being nerdy.
Just nerds, just a bunch of nerds. Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We've got a fitness and a gaming goal. Okay, so let's start with my fitness goal. Okay, since it's Fit Dad, Game Dad, fit came first in our name, and not that fit always trumps gaming. Sometimes gaming's more important, but you got to be alive and healthy to play games. If you're dead, you can't play games. So I don't know. I just thinking off the top of my head. Maybe that's
Dark, Brett. Real
fits first.
dark.
I don't know. I don't know.
Can't play games if you're dead.
Well, I just went and saw. Okay, I just went to the movies. Sorry, I'm going off rails here for just a little bit. Listen,
rails.
I went and saw a show with my wife that I would never go see. Okay, this is not a chick flick because that's for the 20-somethings. Okay, but when you get older, your wife still takes you to movies you don't want to see. They're just not chick flicks anymore. Now they are sophisticated movies. So we went and saw a sophisticated show called A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks. And there's some very dark elements in the show. So maybe that's why that darkness came out. But I must say, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. And, maybe if we have time, some other episode, I can give you a little rundown. It already I know it's only January. It could be one of my top movies of the 2023 because it beat almost any show I saw in 2022. So I imagine it's going to be in my top 5 at the end. It was spectacular. It was really good. So that's why the darkness came out. I apologize. Fitness-wise, speaking of being dark, you never like to hear from your doctor these words. You are obese, right? I mean, you don't want to hear that.
That's why I don't go to the doctor. So I can't hear it if I don't go.
That's a good strategy. That's a good strategy. My wife, bless her heart, not only does she make me go to dark, sophisticated movies, she also makes me go to the doctor every year.
Good on her.
And bless her for that because at the end of the day, that's actually helped me be healthier. But I'll never forget the first time I heard those words from my doctor. And it was, I'm going to say 2008 or something like that. And there's a lot of ways to measure obesity, okay? And what does obesity mean? Who really cares? We're not getting into that, and it also, often that word feels like a judgment anyway, and we're definitely not here to body shame or judge or you. Like we said earlier, it's just about how you feel. But that word struck me at that particular time, and my doctor defined it through the body mass index, which if you've done any research on that, it's not a great tool to really measure obesity. Okay, it does not take into account all kinds of different things. So normally I don't use that metric. However, I have this scale that measures all kinds of things, and BMI is one of them. And ever since my doctor said I was in that obese category, because I didn't feel obese, right? I didn't look obese. Nobody thought I was obese, but there was that number that said I was. And ever since I heard that, I'm like, I don't want to see that number anymore. Okay, whether or not I, feel or look obese or whatever, just something about I wanted to kind of stick it to my doctor. And something my doctor said that really kind of irritated me too is he showed me this graph of 2005 to 2008, and it was my weight. And in 2005, I was at a healthier weight according to this BMI scale, and there was this big old line. You can imagine a line graph going way up. And he looks back and he points at 2005 and he says, "What happened in 2005? Why did you gain all this weight?" I thought about it for about 1 second and I said, "Oh, my first child was born in July of 2005. So maybe it was the pregnancy pounds or whatever that I put on, sympathy weight." So this is a long way of saying that these last 6 months, as I've been using this scale, I've noticed that BMI number dropping, and it's the closest it's been to being in the healthy category since 2005. I've never seen it this low, and it's really motivating for me. It doesn't mean I believe in that number, but it means it's motivating, and so that's why I'm choosing this for my yearly goal. So by the end of the year, I just want to see that number, and I'm not going to tell you what the number is, but I just want to see that number. Well, I'll tell you, I don't care. I'm an open book. It's 25 on the body mass index. At 25 or below for my weight and height is considered not obese anymore. So that's my yearly goal. I want to get that under 25. And then for my gaming goal, last year I mentioned earlier, I beat 15 games. And this year, my goal is to beat 10. And you're probably saying, well, why less? Right? Well, I know what's coming down the pipe for me as far as my life. And I also know kind of some of the games that are coming out. I know Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. That's a big, long game. I'm going to spend a lot of time in that game. And I also I set this goal, and I'm going to talk about more why I set this goal throughout the year. But I love Assassin's Creed, and there's 5 of these Assassin's Creed games I've never played. And this is the year. I just really need to go back and play those games. So the 10 really comes from I want to beat 5 Assassin's Creed games that I've never played and 5 new games that come out this year. So that's my fitness goal and my gaming goal. So 25 BMI or under, beat 10 games, 5 Assassin's Creed, 5 new games. All right, Josh, tell us about your fitness yearly and gaming goals.
Before we go on to me, I just have to say one of the things that I just think is one of your just most fun qualities is just I don't even know how to say it, but just the way that you get this laser focus on things. So I remember, I can't remember which Metroid game it was. If it was it Metroid Dread, there was some Metroid game, and you're like I want to play through all the Metroid games, and that's a heavy lift to go
It
through
was
all.
Samus. It was Samus Returns is the
Okay,
one that got me motivated to do that. It was before Dread I even knew Dread
okay.
existed.
But I remember you making a spreadsheet and like starting at the original Metroid, and so the fact that you're now um, trying to play through all the Assassin's Creed games, I think is just awesome, and it's the most Brett thing that you could do. So
Well, and I hope I have more success than Metroid because I only made it through the original Metroid and Metroid Returns before I failed at that goal, and I haven't gone back to it. So that's a good analogy of what we're trying to do here is hold each other accountable because maybe if we'd had this podcast back then, maybe I could have finished playing all those Metroid games, but
well, but
I
you just recently beat the first Assassin's Creed, and as far as going back and replaying them, that's probably the one that toughest not in difficulty level, but just it's the oldest. The mechanics are going to be the jankiest. It's only going to get better after the first one. So the fact that you've already played through the first Assassin's Creed is a credit to you.
well, I started that game multiple times throughout the years, and because of the reasons you mentioned, it is hard to get through. And this last go around, when I decided to play all the Assassin's Creed games, I started that one back in August, and I just finished it last week. So it was still very difficult to get through. I mean, I only put 10 or 15 hours into it. It's not a long game at all. No, but you're right. It's old. It's especially if you played the more modern Assassin's Creed games. The controls are quite different. There's some bugs there. It's really repetitive. The world is pretty drab. I mean, it's very gray. But you're right. That was the biggest obstacle probably. And if you love a series, in my opinion, if you can, not everyone can, but if you can, you got to play the original. You got to know where it came from, the genesis of that idea. It really sets the stage for, okay, I see what they were trying to create here, and it makes you appreciate where they've come. You can see the growth of the game develop, of how the game has developed over the years. So, anyway, thanks for your kind words here. But
Well, it's almost like
we'll see if I can finish all these Assassin's Creed games or not.
it's almost like watching movies. It'd be like watching the Harry Potter series and starting on Order of the Phoenix, right? Like I can't do that. I can't start midway through something, or even back in the day when movies would be on TV and before you had DVRs or streaming, right? You'd come in, you'd turn on the channel. If the movie was like 10 minutes in, I wouldn't watch it because I'm like I already missed part of it. So I kind of understand
Well,
that.
you can't just rewind that, Josh. A lot of our listeners don't know what you're talking about. Live TV.
Yeah,
What's that?
live TV. No, you could not. But you know what I mean? Like it's just that same
Yeah, no,
idea.
it's a perfect analogy. Yes, that's how it feels.
You need the whole picture. So I'm excited for you to go through this. Okay, so for me, I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm not going to go back and tell you my full, you know, fitness journey. We'll talk about that in other episodes. But I'm going to tell you a lot about this last 12 months for a second. So last January, I was at my absolute heaviest, um, and actually, I still was up until um, we took a family trip to Costa Rica, and we took family pictures there, which weren't cheap, hiring a photographer. And I remember getting the pictures back. My wife's like, "Oh, aren't these great?" And they were really good family pictures. But I just looked at myself. I'm like, man, you're just letting yourself go, and it just really bothered me. Like I didn't like what I saw, and so while I should have maybe tried to eat healthier and get in shape before the trip, it was right after the trip that I was like, no more of this. And so I started, walking more, started jogging, started eating better, started doing the things that I really had done before, but just kind of had gotten away from. And over the course of, I want to say it was like 4 months, I lost 38 pounds. And so I was just barely under 40. Things were going really well. I was in a really good groove. Like it sometimes takes a little while to get in those grooves, but I had gotten in one. And what got me out of that groove was a trip, we took a road trip cross country and went to Indiana to visit relatives of mine. And on the way back, I get sleepy driving long distances, so I just try and munch on stuff. And I told myself, you know what? Even though I hadn't been eating junk food, I was like, it's a car trip. It's fine. It's just a day. And I let that day turn into, well, a couple days after won't hurt. And then that just kind of went and went and went. So basically, in the last 12 months, I went from being at my heaviest to then losing almost 40 pounds to then the last, half of the year gaining it all back. And that's frustrating, and there's a lot of disappointment that you feel in yourself when something like that happens, when you just allow yourself to lose all the progress you had. So I'm trying to combat that, and I'm trying to get back on track. And so my yearly goal that I've set for myself is to lose 50 pounds. And it's, for me, that's achievable as long as I keep at it. It's not something, it's going to push me, but it's not something that is going to really strain things. And I think that's one of the things that I really want to focus on is goals that can be achieved. I think I don't want to make this like a boot camp sort of thing where it's like I have 4 weeks to lose a ton of weight and then just do what I did last year, lose a bunch of weight and then gain it back and just give up.
I just love that goal, Josh. Sorry to interrupt before you do your gaming goal, but I want the listeners to know that something I admire about you is I've never met someone more optimistic and uh, positive, especially in the face of adversity. And maybe over the years, if we do this podcast, people will get to know a little bit about some of the adversity you've faced. But you've faced some really tough adversity in your life. Some of it recent and some of it years ago. But regardless, you're always picking yourself back up and trying again. And you said something interesting. You said, it was so frustrating when you gained all those, you lost 38, 39 pounds and gained it right back all in the same year. Most people wouldn't try again for some people years. Some people that would get them down in the dumps for a couple of years. I know it would me. And so I'm just always so impressed with you. I'm so impressed that you're just, nope, let's get right back to it, you
It's
know?
it's really not that impressive when you know the root reason. I mean, there's a lot of, right. There's just not being happy with it, not wanting to, but really when you know that I'm cheap and I'm not buying bigger clothes and these clothes are not fitting. So it's either you let that gut just hang right out of those clothes or you do something about it. Um, so yeah, I'm just
Okay, well, if it doesn't work out, and I hope it does, but if it doesn't, I have two teenage daughters who have recently introduced me to the world of thrifting. It's quite the popular thing. We can get you some nice, cheap fat man wardrobe, and I use that term fat man jokingly. I'm just totally joking, but yeah, we go thrifting, Josh, and get you some new
okay.
outfit.
Well, I will say this. I think I mentioned before. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", and it is difficult to find clothes that fit me, whether it's waist size or even length size. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So maybe that's part of the reason why I hate clothes shopping is I just can never find anything that fits anyways. So anyways, so 50 pounds, that's my goal. Um, we'll talk about monthly goals here in a little bit, but as far as for a yearly goal, I really do feel that that's something that I can reach. And so I could push it higher, um, but I do want this to be achievable and realistic. Um,
Well, and we're going to check in, and this is something we haven't explained in the structure of our podcast. We're going to check in after 6 months, and if we're way ahead or way behind on our yearly goal, we can actually make adjustments at that time because we do. We're going to earn points for our yearly goals too. We'll talk about that later. There's gamification in this as well. But for those of you who are setting your yearly goals right now, uh, don't be afraid to adjust those if they're too hard or if they're too easy.
right.
And we're going to do that at 6 months, but you guys can do it whenever you want. Don't give up on your goals just because they're too hard. You set a smaller goal. That's cool.
Yeah, and I will say, like, let's just say at 6 months, let's just say I'm at 30 pounds down. If I'm at like 30 and I'm above the pace, I still might not adjust it just because I know the farther into it you go, it slows down. I kind of I have a general idea of what's realistic for me in the first month, in the second month, in the third month, because I kind of know the way my body works, right? Like that first week of me really eating better and exercising, I'm going to lose a lot of weight. I know it's one of those things that if my wife and I are comparing notes and I tell her like, oh, I lost X amount of pounds this week, she'll just kind of look at me like with these big eyes, like, how much? It's like, yeah, but I'm a big guy. And when you're carrying a lot of weight, that first couple of weeks, it's almost like your body wants to just get going, and whether it's water weight or whatever. So
Well, I can relate with your wife because whenever you're sharing your initial successes with me, my body is built more like your wife's, where I don't lose a lot of pounds as much as you do at first. And so it's one of the reasons I didn't choose a weight loss goal because I don't want to feel bad about myself when you're losing all these pounds and I'm not. But it's also a good thing that we mention at this moment that I didn't set a weight loss goal because once again, that's not what it's about, right? That's what it's about for you. That's not what it's about for me, and it's not what it's about for everybody. Weight loss is not the end all be all, right? We celebrate all body sizes and types. It's about feeling good in your body.
right, yep. And one of the things that you were talking about with the BMI is, it's not a perfect science, but it's just that bar to measure with. Same thing with me with weight loss. Like, I don't have to get a certain number. It's just that carrot on a stick to keep me going. Okay, so 50 pounds, that's my weight loss goal. As far as gaming, I'm kind of similar.
All right, I'm excited.
I'm kind of similar to you, right? Like you set a goal that almost is scaled back, and my gaming goal is scaled back too. My goal is to beat 12 games this year, so on average of one a month. But like you, I know that there's going to be some games that are a little bit lengthier that are coming out this year that I want to play, and also games that have been out for a while that I'm considering playing. I've thought about going back to Witcher 3. I know there's that PS5, Xbox Series X update that has me really intrigued. We talked about Elden Ring and how I'm tinkering with the idea, but then also when I look at my backlog, games like Horizon Forbidden West is in there, Days Gone. One of my all-time favorite games, Red Dead Redemption 2, I just recently purchased on Steam so that I can play it on the Steam Deck, and that is a hefty lift. I'm not saying for sure that I'll play these games because you know me. When I say what I want to play 1 minute might change the next. Just because I see something else and I'm like, I might text you and I'm like, my next game is going to be such and such. Or like I might give you a list of like, I'm debating between these 3 or 4 games and then I'll play something totally out of left field.
Yeah. Just within the last year or two, I think you mentioned to me that, and I hope it's okay if I bring it up right now.
Totally not
Since
okay.
we talk about our general fitness, and that includes mental health.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that you thought you might be ADD. Well, whether you are or not, you clearly are in gaming. I support that statement.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Josh, 1 minute will tell me the backlog games he's going to play, and the next minute I'll get a text of a game he started way out of left field, has nothing to do with any of those games that he'd been thinking about doing. And it's a joy to get those texts because I'm like, all right, where did that idea come from? Tell me about that. So I'm actually really excited to see what those 12 games end up being. Because you mentioned Elden Ring and Red Dead and Witcher 3 here, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if none of those show up, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if all three of them show up. So it's going to be really fun for me.
Yeah, well, and part of this too, as far as gaming, as far as setting a bar, like I said, last year I beat 26 games, and so to set it at 12 seems like a big scaling back. And maybe I'll, surpass 12, 6 months in, like we said, and have to reset a new goal. And if I do, that's fine. The gaming goals for me are really secondary. It's fun, and if I have time to game, great. But if I really want to focus on my own health and well-being, in some ways, it's going to take a little bit of a backseat. Now, there's some time management that goes on, and I think I can still fit everything in that we're talking about. And a lot of the gaming I do is late at night too. I'm not going to be working out at 11:30 at night.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't want the gaming goals, for me at least, to be stressful. I want to keep gaming fun. Not that my weight loss goal is stressful, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't see a need to say, well, I beat 26 last year, so I need to beat 35 this year. Like I'm not doing that. So
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. Gaming has to be fun. You can't make it stressful by setting a goal. These are just uh, ways to hold each other accountable to kind of like we said earlier. If we're really excited about a game and we start it, one of the things I think that you and I both regret over the years is that we'll start a game and not finish it because we get distracted.
right,
And so maybe it's more about that than the actual number of games we beat. This element of it, this goal portion, it's like, well, let's if we're liking the game, if we're not liking it, put it down. That's not
right.
a big deal. But if we're liking it, it's nice to have someone remind you and say, "Hey, how's that game going?" And I know you've done that to me, and I've thought, "Oh yeah, I did start that game, didn't I?" I got
Right.
distracted by life and whatever. I'm like, I was having fun with that. Thanks for inviting me to have fun again, Josh. That's kind of what it feels like.
Well, and there, that is interesting because there definitely are games that you just are hooked and you just love and you just play through. And then there are games that you still might really enjoy and just for whatever reason it's like I said, it's one thing if you're not enjoying the game to set it down, but there have been a lot of games where, yeah, I've enjoyed it and just for whatever reason, just, yeah, got distracted, got that ADD brain and moved on to something else. So,
Right there with you. I got the ADD brain too. Mine's been diagnosed. Yours
yeah,
hasn't, so I
well,
can confirm I have the
that's
ADD.
because you go to the doctor.
Yes, that's right. We already had this discussion, didn't
Yeah,
we?
so,
Maybe that should be your goal, Josh. Go to the doctor so that we can do season 2 of this podcast. I don't want you dropping dead on me this year.
well, yeah,
I'll text Steph. I'll text
there you
Steph.
go. That's
We'll get an appointment scheduled for you.
she'll.
I'll make that her goal is to get
Oh,
you to the
it's
doctor.
her
Now,
goal.
she is a nurse.
It's her goal. She just knows that I'm stubborn and I don't do anything unless I think it's my idea and unless I want to do it. So, um,
Challenge accepted. We will figure out how to inceptionize. Do a little Christopher Nolan on you. Get in there and plant that idea in your head so you think it's your own.
well, that's probably what it's going to take. It's one of those things where she's actually been bugging me for a long time, and one of the things we're going to have in this podcast, we're talking about gamifying our goals. Right now, we're talking about yearly goals, and we're going to have monthly goals. But one of the things also that we talked about, and maybe I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but just what I'm thinking of this is side quests, right? These optional challenges
Yes.
that we're gonna give to each other. So maybe one of these months that'll be a side quest of mine is to actually make an appointment to go to the doctor. So
I love it. Okay.
we'll see.
We'll definitely throw that in there as a side quest. Now, before you do any side quests, we want to talk about one of our favorite elements of gaming, which is co-op, right? So, what are your feelings on co-op, Josh?
Well, Brett, first off, co-op typically way back because we're old. How was there's a word that was before co-op. Do you know which word I'm kind of leading you to?
I think I know where you're going with this, and definitely our newer gamers wouldn't know what this is, but I want to see if they can guess for a second. It involves no headsets, no internet. It was pre LAN parties even. Okay, a little something that you could also, if you had a lady friend by you on, you could have a different kind of co-op. So I think the word you're looking for is couch.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. So Brett, scooch over,
Yes.
make room on that couch because it is time to talk a little bit of couch co-op. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the idea of what co-op is in regards to our podcast?
Right. So, um, love the intro. There's always room for you on the couch, Josh,
Thank you.
next to
Thank
me
you.
playing
Appreciate
some
it.
games. Um, we talked when we were sharing our goals how different they each were. How yours was weight and mine was BMI, and mine was backlog, and your games are whatever is exciting you at the moment, and just how different they all are. But sometimes it's really fun to have a shared cohesive experience and to talk about that. And so co-op is like, let's do one of our goals together. Let's make a goal, a monthly goal that we're doing the same thing. Now, since we're only going to do one of these, it's not all of, our whole life can't be chasing all these goals around. I got to do this goal and that goal
Right.
and this goal and that goal, right? So to keep it simple, it's just going to be something that you and I, are just working on. It could take all month. It could take a day. It could just something you and I do the same thing on. It could be a TV show that we're both watching. Like, go check out that episode. It could be a sporting game. Let's both make sure we watch that. And we'll do that sometimes. We'll be watching a sporting game. We'll be texting back and forth. Oh, can you believe that interception and blah blah blah.
Right.
And so that's really fun for us when we text and we're experiencing that together. So we just wanted to share that with our listeners of what that looks like when you enjoy an experience together. And so, in terms of this show, each month we'll pick an activity that we're going to do together. It might be gaming related, it might be fitness related, it might be family related. And we did pick one, Josh. You want to tell us what that's going to be for the month of January and why we picked this as
Yeah.
our co-op goal?
So we picked to both aim to finish God of War because we're both playing it right now. And
Ragnarok.
Yes, God of War Ragnarok. Thank you. So since we're both playing it, we figured why not? Um, I'm I'm looking at how long it should take and how far I am into it, which isn't very far. I think I'm about 6 hours into God of War. I don't. How far are you into it, Brett?
Well, I'm probably about 10, but
Okay.
what's really interesting about this is I started at day 1, and this is a microcosm of our whole year. I started out really strong. You were living vicariously through me, asking
Right.
me about God of War, and the one question you kept asking me over and over was, "Has he said boy yet?"
Boy. Yeah.
And for those of you who have, boy, right?
Boy.
And actually, I was surprised because I was expecting to hear that. And minor spoiler here if you haven't played it. Minor. Okay, won't give away very much. But I was surprised he didn't say boy, and you kept asking. And finally, you picked up the game. I don't know how long. When did you start it? Well, it's only been a couple weeks, right?
Yeah. So I got it for Christmas. So I started a couple
Oh,
days after Christmas.
so and now you're almost caught up to me because you said you're about 6 hours in.
Right.
I'm about 10 hours in. So to answer your question, how far am I into this game? Well, right before the podcast tonight, I played a little bit of it and I heard boy
Oh
for the
gosh.
first time in the game,
Tell
and
us.
it was a pivotal moment. That's why I said there's some minor spoilers here, and you'll know exactly when you get to that moment in the game, Josh. So when you get there, so that's how I know I'm a little bit ahead of you because I know
Right.
you haven't talked about that yet. So when you get there, in a couple days
I'll
or
be
even
texting you when I get
tonight,
there. Yeah.
you'll be like, "Hey, I'm now caught up with you and past you." But our goal is let's finish it in January so we can come and talk about our experience playing the game because we just love this game.
Yeah.
Like we love the first game, we love the characters, we love what do you love about the first game?
Well, and it's so interesting too because one of the things that God of War is so good at is it's that water cooler video game, right? Like you think of their TV shows back in the day that everyone Monday morning at the office would get together and be like, "Oh, did you see what happened in Lost or Survivor or whatever it is?" But the fact that we're both playing it and able to text each other, my sister, I just called her the other day. She's playing it with her husband, and she was saying they're doing like a real couch co-op, like they're passing the controller back and forth. It's just so much
Nice.
fun to have that dialogue about this game. The first God of War was interesting for me because the first time I picked it up, I didn't really get into it. I actually thought I didn't like it, sold it, which I typically don't sell my own games. Once I have it, it's
I forgot you did that. That is very
yeah. So
uncharacteristic for you. Yeah.
I was mad. I was like, I don't like this game, you know. So I sold it, and then it was like 6 months later, I was like, I should give this another shot. And I don't know what it was, what it was the first time, because the second time through, I loved it. It was one of my all-time favorite games. Um, so I don't know if it just caught me like at the wrong time, the wrong mood, or I really don't know why it didn't click with me that first time. But yeah, so this will be fun. To be honest, I don't know if I'll finish it this month or not. But I like having this goal and trying to see if I can push through and catch up and keep pace with the great with I can't say with the great Brett Bodden. So
Well, there's no great Brett Bodden,
oh no,
but
there is.
typically I do get off to a good start in January. But I too am nervous about finishing this game. But that's what's fun about. We're both going to kind of hold each other accountable. We'll see if we can do it. So, but we do have maybe mid-January an opportunity to kind of uh, do some actual co-op the way did you say is your sister that's playing it this way?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, so we could do it the way she's doing it because I think one of our side missions, and I think we're only going to do one side mission now. Typically, when you this month, but typically when you game, there's more side missions than you know what to do with, and that's kind of how our podcast is going to be set up too. Where there's always going to be a lot of side missions, and these are just little mini goals where for that you can do in a day or in an hour or something that to get some extra points in case because once again, this whole thing is a competition between me and you a little bit. And so if I fell a little bit behind one month, I could make up some ground by playing a few more side missions. So since we don't have any points yet, there's no sense in me doing a bunch of side missions or you doing a bunch of side missions. But we should do one. And so I was thinking, um, you've been uh, harassing me is not the right word, but I moved. We used to live right by each other, and in my defense, you moved before I did.
I did.
Okay, so
I did. I moved.
almost
It's
10,
10
10 or so
years ago.
years ago,
Yeah,
and you moved 10 years ago. Okay, so I'm not feeling bad about me moving, but I moved very recently, and you haven't seen the new house.
yeah.
So I think a side mission should be as simple as the Boddens need to have the Stapletons over for dinner in January, and we can have some actual God of War real life
Yes,
couch co-op
yes.
and kind of see how we're doing at that point. What do you think of that
Yeah,
for a side mission?
I think that's a great side mission. And I will say, just to further the idea of side missions, you mentioned that we're going to give each other a couple of totally optional things, but they can be gaming related, they can be fitness related, they could just be life in general related. Just some things to push us to be just better versions of ourselves, or even like just to make an excuse to get together because it, I really do need to see the house. You've been in there for a couple months now, and we live maybe an hour away from each other. Um, so it's not like you're 5 hours away, but it's still far enough that trying to work schedules sometimes can can be tricky. So yeah, I'm excited to get over there.
This is one side mission we're gonna complete.
Yes,
I'm gonna make sure this happens. So
yes.
let's do it. So once you complete your side missions, now a lot of times in games, I feel like I have to begrudgingly do side missions
They're a grind.
because they're a grind, and my character a lot of times isn't strong enough. They design the game for you to do these side missions so that you can get your character stronger, so you can participate in the main missions. And sometimes, being busy like we are, and loving the story element of games like I do, uh, I want to get through that story. And when I can't, and I have to stop and go do some side missions, I get a little frustrated with that. But really, at the end of the day, for me, most of the time, gaming is about those main missions.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, side quests are fun and all, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just wanna push through. And so, one of the things with our podcast that we're gonna do is we have these side missions. So you could probably guess we're also gonna have the main quests, and this is gonna be um, goals that we're putting forth for ourselves, um, both gaming and fitness related. So Brett, do you want to share what your main quest for gaming is?
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I share, I just want to add one thing to to what you said. This is where the bulk of our XP is going to come from.
Yes.
This is kind of going to be the last segment of our show, and so yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, we're going to have three goals here, and we can earn 1 point for each of those. Uh, 2 points. You can earn up to 2 points for each accomplishing each of these goals, because we actually decided that sometimes you set a monthly goal and you get halfway through that goal. You should still celebrate that. The fact that you started it, you made some progress. Progress is progress, right? So that's why actually each of these goals is worth 2 XP, because if we don't quite finish the goal, but hey, we made some effort and we made some progress, that's 1 XP, right,
Right. Partial
Josh?
points.
And so
Partial credit,
both,
Brett.
yeah, partial
Partial. You
points,
know all about partial credit.
absolutely,
Speaking your lingo.
absolutely. So my gaming, oh no. Hey, I'm sure we'll talk about my career in this podcast. For those of you who don't know, I work in education. Started out as a teacher, now I'm an administrator, and Josh knows it causes me a lot of stress,
Yes.
and gaming is kind of my way of relieving that stress. Um, so yeah, but it's a weekend. We're recording this on a Friday and I had forgotten for a moment until you brought it back up, and as soon as you said extra credit, I had a little PTSD
Oh
because I
no.
was I was back in work mode for a minute.
Yeah.
It's the weekend, man.
Yeah.
Lay off the extra credit right now, all right? No homework on the
No
weekends.
homework.
No homework. Okay. Um, my gaming goal for this month of January, I'm a little nervous about, because it's to beat Assassin's Creed 2. I already started it.
Okay.
Okay, so I've gotten a little jump start, and this wasn't going to be my goal. I wasn't even going to start this game, but here's what happened, Josh. I finished Assassin's Creed 1, like you said, and it took me a long time. But this is what happens every time I play an Assassin's Creed game. It's one of the only franchises I play, and when I'm done with the main story, I'm not done. I have gone back and earned at least 3 platinum trophies on Syndicate, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Okay, and it's one of the only series I buy the DLC for, because I just am never done with this world. And even though Assassin's Creed, the original, the number one that I beat, was the same thing over and over, once I get in my Assassin's Creed groove, I wanted to keep it going. So I immediately, that day, the very day I finished Assassin's Creed 1, I fired up 2. Now, there's a couple reasons I did it. One that I just mentioned, I was in that mode. But the real reason was, how often do you get an opportunity to play an original game for the first time from this storied franchise, and then immediately, without waiting 4 years
Right.
like we used to have to do, go to the sequel that's pretty, in this case, is regarded as one of the greatest sequels in video game history. Assassin's Creed 2 is not only one of the greatest sequels, it's considered one of the greatest games in the whole franchise history. and I really wanted to play them back to back right next to each other so I could see how many differences there are. The longer it goes between the two games, you might forget how much they truly added in that second game. And I have just been blown away so far with how many things they improved upon between 1 and 2. And I won't go into all those details now. Maybe next month when I'm recapping, if hopefully I finish this game, I can highlight some of the new features that I really noticed. And that's my goal. So I've got God of War 2 and Assassin's Creed 2 to beat in 1 month, and I'm really nervous about being able to finish both of those games. So let's get this podcast over with so I can game.
Have you looked up how long Assassin's Creed 2 is?
I did, and it's not that much longer than Assassin's Creed 1. I think main story could be 17 hours.
Okay.
I think that's what it said. You know what? I'm gonna double check that. I'm gonna get as our friends over at MTTG would say, I'm gonna get oopsed on that.
Yeah.
So I'll look that up while you're sharing your game goal. But that's a great question.
Yeah. Well,
What's your game goal?
Well, I was just saying, it just made me interested because Assassin's Creed 2 is one of the Assassin's Creed games that I haven't finished, and I really love that game. So I've started it over twice, and just going back to the whole ADD thing, just got sidetracked. Okay, so my gaming goal is one that isn't necessarily a real heavy lift, um, but it's just something that I want to do, and that is to finish the story mode on WWE Day of Reckoning on the GameCube. And so I have to tell you,
there it is. There is a perfect analogy of Josh's games he pulls out of left field. I love it.
Well, you know this, but I I love wrestling games. I just love the beat 'em up nature of them. But yeah, I haven't watched wrestling since I was a senior in high school, so it's been quite a long time. But I still do love the video games. And then one of the things I also love is I love collecting games, and I really love collecting GameCube games. And so out of all those 26 games I beat last year, I realized I didn't beat a single GameCube game, and that was kind of irking me. I'm like, why am I collecting these things if I'm not playing them that much? And so the other day, I watched a YouTube video. It was a review of Day of Reckoning. I'm like, I have this game. I love wrestling games. I'm going to play it. And so I've started it. I'm not very far into the story mode. My only minor complaint about the story mode is that I'm not playing as a well-known wrestler. It's a create-a player, so it's this unknown guy who's rising through the ranks, and it has been fun. How Long to Beat has the story mode, I think, around 7 hours, and I'm probably an hour or two in. So, like I said, it's not really a super heavy lift, but it's something that, for my own personal satisfaction, that I want to do.
I love your I love your interest in wrestling games. We got to do a deep dive sometime about why you love those so much. But
I mean, the answer is really simple. You can pull out chairs and bash people in the head, and that's just so satisfying.
And you know what those chairs look like? They look like the same chairs that we set up at schools in the auditorium.
Yes.
So maybe I should be more into these games because I think it would be very therapeutic for me to take one of our auditorium chairs and beat someone up with it.
There you go. Okay, so
hey, speaking of How Long to Beat, you said
yes.
the game. Remind me again how long you said it was. You said it has it at 7 hours.
7 hours.
For 7 hours. Do you have it up in front of you? Because I'm still trying to find.
I don't have
Assassin's Creed 2. I'm struggling to find Assassin's Creed 2. It's not popping up for me. I'm using my phone, so sorry I don't have an answer for you. So how about you tell us about your fitness goal? And that will buy me some more time to look up How Long to Beat Assassin's Creed 2. So just keep going.
Okay. So for my fitness goal, I already told you my yearly goal is to lose 50 pounds. So I wanted to make my monthly fitness goal something that fell in line with that to kind of get that kick started. Once again, I didn't want to make it too difficult, but I also wanted to make it something that I knew I would have to get off my butt and move to do. So my monthly goal is to lose 7 pounds. And I'll tell you, how I'm trying to achieve that as well. Um, One of the things I'm trying to do and be better about is walking the dog, as dumb as that sounds. Um, taking my dog out for,
Dog needs exercise too.
yeah, taking him out for brisk walks. We went out tonight for about half an hour, and just really kind of trying to keep the pace up. He loves it. It's good for me. Trying to, I know I don't have an Apple Watch. I'm a Google guy, but trying to close those rings. It's Google Fit uses rings just like Apple does, and there's something kind of satisfied about trying to close those rings. So trying to make sure that I'm getting my steps in and getting my active uh, cardio time in as well. So 7 pounds.
Well, Apple and Google didn't come up with the idea. I mean they did, but it's clearly what we're all about here. It's
It's
satisfying because
gamifying.
it's a game. It's
Yeah,
an achievement,
yeah,
right? It's a game.
right.
It's a virtual reward for your physical effort. So, of course you like it. Of
Yeah,
course I like it. I'm the same way. I love closing my
yeah.
rings. It's very satisfying.
In a weird way, it is. Like I was out for the walk tonight, and I had my steps in, but the active time I wasn't quite there, so I made sure that I walked a little bit further just to close that stupid ring. Um, so, anyways, so
uh,
7 pounds.
I just got to, speaking of that, I just have to share a little anecdotal story that's really quite funny. My wife, when she's really into closing her rings, there's been quite a few times where she just needs that one more minute
Right,
of exercise. And her favorite thing to do, it really quite cracks me up, is she'll be standing about to get. I'm thinking she's getting ready to get in bed, but she's not getting in the bed. And I start to, I might be reading or might be playing a game. Reading. I'm probably playing a game in
right,
bed on my
right.
Switch. Let's be honest. Yeah, right. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this really fast movement. And at first I was like, what is going on over there? Why is she not getting in bed? What is she doing over there? And now I'm used to it. But what she likes to do for her last minute, and those of you who can't see me in the video version of this, she is just punching furiously her fist back and forth. And actually, you can get your heart rate up really quite good through punching.
Right.
And I have since tried it when I need an extra minute or two. It's really quite therapeutic. So if you're cold, your dog's had enough of the walking. Just if you haven't tried this method, Josh,
Just
this was
start punching
invented
the
by
air.
Janine, my lovely wife. Just punch the air. Just go crazy
Yeah.
punching the air. It's quite effective.
Maybe I'll have to grab a steel folding chair and just wave that around wildly and just see what happens. So,
You should do that, and I'll punch. Well, Janine will punch, and maybe I'll run on the treadmill, and we can see who burns more calories.
okay, okay. So that's my fitness goal. What's yours, Brett?
Before I tell you my fitness goal, I did. I wasn't too far off
Moving on.
on Assassin's Creed 2.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. It was 19 hours according to How Long to Beat.
Okay.
So I said 17.
Yeah.
I think I can do that. I think I'm probably 3 hours into it.
Okay.
So, whew, little daunting. As for my fitness goal, I had mentioned that I've been more consistent with fitness this past year, calendar year 2022, than uh, pretty much any time in my life. And that was why I said in the beginning my BMI had been closer to a healthy BMI than it had been since 2005. And one of the things that helped me get there was exercising pretty consistently. And for me, started out slow at the beginning of 2022 and eventually got up to pretty consistently doing 5 days a week of exercise for at least 20 minutes. Now, near the end of 2022, or actually more like the fall, I was hitting about an hour for each of those 5 exercises. And then November and December kicked my trash. Busy season.
Right.
You're relying more on exercising indoors. It's cold. We live in Utah. Third highest December in the history of Utah in terms of snow accumulation this year in
Right.
December. So we have been decimated with snow, and I guess I could have been counting my exercise in shoveling snow because I've
A
definitely
workout.
got my exercise in
Yeah.
doing that this year.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've dropped off on the 5. I'm nowhere near the 5 that I was. I'm definitely not near the 60, and you just can't jump right back in. You know,
Right.
you can't go from, even though you had been doing, or me, I had been doing 5 at 60 minutes. I know I can get back to 5, but I'm gonna set my goal at 20 minutes for 5 days a week. And this week, Josh, I started on Tuesday, and I exercised Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I've gotten
Nice.
3 in. Tomorrow's Saturday. So I'm going to have to do Saturday and Sunday. My week for me starts on a Monday. So in order to get this goal, I've got to exercise the next 2 days. I skipped today. I went to the movies instead, and I did this podcast instead. So
How dare you?
I'm starting off the month a little bit behind on this goal. But I think I do have 2 days to salvage it, but I
Right.
have no room for error in this
You
first
got
week with
this.
this goal.
You got this.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And we have one more goal we do on our main
Yes.
quests.
Okay.
This is the hardest one.
And that's the eating goal.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you want to go
So
first?
hard. So hard. I just want to get it over with because it's so hard. It's hard to even say out loud. I love food.
Yes.
I love, in particular, anything that has flour in it that comes out of the oven.
Yep.
And I just decided a note here, Josh. One of the reasons my eating went to pot in December, as you know, I did a fundraiser
Yes, I do know.
for a school trip, and they sold cinnamon rolls, and I helped them bake cinnamon rolls, and we baked, was it 30 dozen cinnamon rolls in the month of December? And see, every time you make a dozen cinnamon rolls, the 2 little ends of that dozen usually get thrown in the trash. They're just the little bits of dough. Well, we saved those and put those in another tray and just ate those as a family.
Okay.
So we went through 30 ends of cinnamon rolls, and I just stopped counting calories because I didn't want to know
Right.
how many calories I was consuming on a daily basis with all those cinnamon rolls. I knew it was really bad. But one of the things I learned last year is counting calories doesn't improve fitness, but it helps give you the data you need to start making little decisions about how to improve your eating. And just getting in that habit is such a huge win.
Right.
And so I'm not even worried right now about what I'm eating. I mean, I am, but that can't be my goal, because to go from eating 30 dozen cinnamon rolls to all of a sudden, staying under your calorie goal is going to be really hard. So I'm just going to log my goals log my calories every day.
Okay.
And except I get one day, which is like a cheat day, where I don't have to log and I can kind of just eat whatever I want. That was today. I ate a lot of popcorn.
I was going to say
ate a lot of
popcorn at
red
the movie theater will do
vines.
it, yeah.
The movie. Yeah, that'll do it. So I've already had my cheat day, but I have logged my calories every other day this week, and my goal is to finish out the month 100%, with the exception of those 1 cheat days a week.
I think that's a good goal. Yeah. So mine is similar. I want to log my calories every single day, and I want to be underneath my calorie goal 80% of the time. And kind of like you were saying, how December is always hard, right? Christmas time is always hard. This is going to sound like such cliche to say I wanted to wait till January to really focus back, because I know everyone starts in January, right? And then they fizzle out. But I just knew for myself, after having the second half of the year where I did horribly, that if I started in December, if I said, all right, this is where I'm starting, I'd be kind of setting myself up for failure, because I wasn't in the right mental space, and I hadn't been eating. I wouldn't have given myself enough time to eat right to kind of get the sugar cravings out of the system, So I think there's something important about being in the right mental space to set yourself up for success. And I just knew that wasn't going to happen. But now here we are. So the excuses are done. It's time to do it. So for me, like I said, logging 100%. So every single day of the month. The 80% under is just kind of like your cheat day because I am still in that first phase. I don't want to say like every single day of the month because I just don't feel that that's realistic. Maybe 6 months in to set a goal to be under would be more realistic when I'm in a better groove. But for right now, it's just this is my kickoff. This is getting started. And like you were talking about with calorie counting, for me to be under 80% is great considering where I was. Like, I don't even want to know the calories. If I had to guess, it would have just probably been double of what I'm at now. But yeah, so
Well, I'm impressed that you are. Yeah, 80% is awesome because I'm not even going for staying under a calorie goal. I'm just trying to log calories. So you're you're a step above me, or you're further along in that journey and in that headspace than I am, like you said, which is great to show people that we're you got to be in the right mind frame and that we're all at different places on that journey. But you can do it. I know you can do it, and it's a great goal.
yeah, and like we kind of talked about earlier, with kind of having gone through this kind of yo-yo effect of doing well, not doing well, doing well, not doing well. The times where I've done well, I've learned from and I know what I need to do. I need to plan my meals ahead of time, just so it's not that last minute. Let's go grab a pizza or fast food or whatever. I need to make sure I'm drinking more water, and then really, along with planning my meals, is loading up on veggies because you don't want to feel starving, but yet you can eat a lot of broccoli and carrots or whatever. Find a vegetable you like. I love roasted carrots, so I'll probably be having a lot of meals that have roasted carrots, roasted broccoli, and chicken a lot this month. But I'm trying to set myself up for a good start for success. So
And if you don't know how to roast carrots, we need to get this man to post his recipe because I brought my children to your house for a meal once and they still ask for Josh's famous roasted carrots. They are
there's not,
spectacular. I know there's nothing fancy to them, but the way you do it, because we've tried to duplicate it here, Josh, because you've told me your recipe and it doesn't come out the
I mean,
same, man. You've
it's
got
salt, pepper, a little bit of olive oil. That's pretty much it. If you want to get really fancy and add a little bit of calories to it, you can add a little bit of honey and just mix it up well. But most time for me, it's just salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. That's basically it. But
It's the ratios, man. I don't know how he does it, but I'm telling you, he's got the ratios down because those are some mighty fine carrots. If
I do like them.
I was a horse, I'd just be eating them up.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that horse. It's a very weird horse sound. It's getting late.
it is good.
It just that sound, that horse sound, actually happened at the exact moment that my clock on my laptop switched over from being Friday to Saturday. It's now midnight. So I think a little loopiness is coming out. So I'm going to, kind of just back off here and maybe let you close out the show because those are all our goals. We got them all out there now. We're going to come back and we're going to earn some points and we're going to we actually have a mini game we're going to do too maybe next time. So anyway, I'm really excited about this, Josh. Thanks for inviting me to be part of Fit Dad Game Dad.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fun, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us to, if nothing else, if the podcast is completely boring to everyone else, at least it gives us the opportunity to be accountable, above anything else. Obviously a fitness gaming podcast might be weird. But it's built.
But we're weird.
But it's built for us, and we're weird. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brad.
So, and our wives love us anyway. They love us anyway, even though we're weird. And so, really, to be honest, they're the only ones that are going to listen to this episode this week. So we'll know how successful the episode is going to be based on their feedback we get. And like you said, we don't care. We're here for each other. We're here to have some fun. We're here to, enjoy life and be in a position where our bodies can help us maximize the enjoyment of the journey of life and the games that we get to play throughout life. So thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
This has been great. Brett, where can people follow you if they want to stalk you and shame us in our journeys? Where can they follow you?
Yeah. My Facebook and Instagram right now are pretty locked up except for friends. So you're gonna want to follow me on Twitter for right now. Now that might change in the future, but it's at Hoptonger, HOPTONGAR. That is my gamer tag for both the Xbox and the PlayStation. So you can also find me there. Send me a friend request on Xbox or PlayStation, or follow me on Twitter, Hoptonger. I'll tell you what that means in a future episode, but that's where you can find me.
Okay. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at MTTG Street Team. And in life, Brett, there are Glass Joes, there are King Hippos. You don't have to be either. Set your goals, get going, and come along with us as we strive to be both fit dads and gamer dads. So until next time, we'll see you later.